The Prime. Ziaseek. You see the Valve situation? Oh yeah, someone wanted me to look up the Valve leaks. I'm just gonna look it up on YouTube to get like a general breakdown to see what's going on. Is this clickbait or is this actually what the leaks are, that they're toying around with the idea of shutting down TF2?
Good evening. Yesterday, something pretty insane happened that's both very exciting and also immensely depressing. Team Fortress 2's entire developer repo leaked. Now, what does this mean?
I'm just shocked there's developers still there.
If you were making a game on Valve's Source Engine, you might make a deal with Valve to get access to their developer repo. This gives you a drive of files from many of their game's development history for you to reference and use when creating your own game. These have been scrubbed of super sensitive files in the past due to small leaks, so they don't contain absolutely everything. But they do contain the majority of files made during these games' developments. And this week, TF2's leaked.
I wanted to read that real quick. It's crazy how TF2 is just a gift that keeps on giving when it comes to leaks. I feel like once a year, at very least, there is some kind of huge security flaw, some kind of massive exploit that ruins the whole market in the game. Just something big when it comes to lack of any level of security protocols.
Actually, not only TF2, but nearly every Source Engine Valve game had their repo dumped. Half-Life 2, Counter-Strike Source, Day of Defeat Source, even Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. What does this mean for Valve? Well, they're probably going to tighten security. They might not let people license their games ever again. And if they weren't a privately owned company, their stocks would probably be plummeting right now. Because this might be the biggest leak they've suffered since Half-Life 2's source code got posted online in 2003. I'm hoping they don't go code red and start targeting people sharing the files or, God forbid, YouTubers reporting on them. Thankfully for them, though, this repo leak didn't include the files for CSGO, Portal 2, or Left 4 Dead 2, which would have made things even more catastrophic, as those files probably include stuff from Half-Life 3. Now, what does this leak mean for the future of TF2?
Well, also, what does it mean on a bigger scale? So, as I understand it, it's their big cash cow games are still fine. It's really like their older games, or games that Valve doesn't give a fuck about anymore, clearly. So how would this be such a huge hit to Valve itself? Like, they probably leaked it themselves just because they don't care. Like, when was the last time Valve even talked about TF2 besides, like, the massive Save TF2 movement and they were kind of forced into doing something? It doesn't hurt them at all. It's not that big of a deal. Okay. So kind of getting mixed reports here. Well, let's see what it means for TF2 in particular. Because I imagine TF2, out of all the games listed, is kind of like the only one that would really probably suffer from it, because there is still a community there.
Well, it means that the community now has access to nearly every single piece of official TF2 content ever made. Basically, no stones left unturned. So, unless you're so huffed up on copium you still think that another major TF2 update or even TF3 is coming, it would appear that this is probably the last significant drop of Valve-made TF content you or I might ever see, which is very saddening. We've truly reached the bottom of the barrel and now have nearly every piece of official TF2 content ever prototyped, and there's not any more on the way. Once the nerds of the Valve community who spend hours obsessing over
I see why the TF2 community would get very upset after these leaks, because it confirms that Valve truly, legitimately has given absolutely no care to TF2 in years, haven't even thought about it and have added nothing. I see why that's depressing. Thanks to the resub. Take down Doc and Spice and Dragon in the tier 1 swag, and the resub Red Eye. That's not true, they made hats. Have they even made hats in like the last, like 3 years? When was the last time they even dropped anything meaningful in the game, even from like a microtransaction perspective? Thanks to the resub Thick, Vicky, and the Bits Digital. They just steal community content, and the community is the one making the hats.
All textures finish digesting and restoring the contents of this leak, it's over. Now, it's not all bad, because of course these files include a ton of really cool shit, and it'd be foolish not to expect them to spur in a new wave of interesting TF2 fan content. So that should be fun to see. It's also going to take a long time for people to wrap their heads around everything in this leak, since it's about 60 gigabytes and includes basically every file made
That's
for the game
only a
between
little bit more than
2007
AMOC
and
runner.
2015. But here's some of the most interesting things people have found so far. We have files from the cut VIP mode, including multiple versions of Hunted, a map based on surface tension from Half-Life 1. We have files for an official rocket jump map and unreleased tutorial levels for the Soldier. We have the early versions of Powerhouse and Mercenary Park from before 2011. We have model versions of basically every backpack item render, like the refined metal and stuff.
So
We
they have
files
some
relating
cool
to the
little
canceled
things to
raid
check
game
out.
mode that I think evolved into MVM, and a ton of bizarre assets for it, like the Knight and this big-ass sentry thing.
Okay. So the title's not inaccurate. The leaks kind of confirm Valve is never touching TF2 again. But the leaks themselves aren't what killed the game. It just finally confirmed what everyone's already known. Valve does not care about TF2. Got it. I see now. I see what this all means. But at least it was a good send-off. You get to look at some prototype maps and what could have beens. A little bittersweet.